Where is the horror? Like, how is this horrific? There's a lot of beauty in the slowness in T. Kingfisher's books. It's pointless. You don't need any of it. Useless, pointless. Like, it just was so annoying. Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm starting a new vlog and I have my Kindle here to let you know what I'm currently reading. My priority number one is finishing a book on my Kindle that is due tomorrow. Today is Monday. And I don't even think it's due tomorrow afternoon or evening. I think it's due tomorrow morning. And so I think I really only have tonight to finish this. And I have 2 hours and 15 minutes left. I'm 70% of the way through, and the book is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher, who is just one of my favorite authors of all time. I love her so much, and this book is really good. It is a great example of her writing, I think, and her character creation. I just think she makes the best characters, the best side characters that you really feel connected to, and I just really love T. Kingfisher, like more than anything. So I am super pumped to finish that book. It's quite good. It's definitely not my favorite T. Kingfisher book. That would be Nettle and Bone. However, it is really good and it's better than some other books that I've read from her. We'll see what my final rating is. We'll see if I can finish it tonight. I am just going to try to get to bed early and then just read until I finish it. So the earlier I can get to bed, the better, so that I can actually finish it in time. Like I said, I've got just over 2 hours. So fingers crossed I don't have to stay up until like 2 a.m. because I normally go to bed around midnight. So I'm gonna try to get to bed earlier so that I can read. And the other book that I am listening to is Welcome to Nightvale. And I'm also roughly 70% finished with that. And I'm also really liking it. It's definitely really weird. And also I feel like I like it better as a podcast, actually. I like the book. I just feel like it lends itself better to the podcast rather than a book form. However, like I said, I am liking it. I have, I believe, 4 more days, give or take, to finish that before I have to return that back to my library as well. And then I have so many other books on my Kindle because if you've watched my channel before, if you've read my community update, there was a Stuff Your Kindle Day on October 3rd for thrillers and horror kind of books and whatnot. And I got a ton of books on that day on my Kindle. And so now I have like an endless supply of things to read on my Kindle. And also on top of all of that, I really would like to focus on reading Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone in Spanish. I own that, so I've just been chipping away very slowly at it. It's on my Kindle so that I can use like the translation services like the dictionary and Wikipedia and whatnot for questions. But yeah, I'm like 60% of the way through with that. And my goal, my really only goal for Spanish this year was to finish one novel in Spanish, and I picked Harry Potter. So I really would like to finish it soon. We'll see how long it's going to take me to finish it, but I really would like to actually devote some time to it this week. I feel like I've just ignored it basically entirely for the past 6 months. Like, I read it very regularly and I don't know, I did a good job at the beginning of this year and then things just really went downhill. So I really would like to get back into that and get back into the rhythm of reading it regularly and kind of just setting aside a time every day, like 15 minutes, give or take, where I just read it and I just slowly chip away at it. And then hopefully by doing that, I'll finish it by the end of this year. I ideally would like to finish it by November, at the very least mid-November, but I don't know. So yeah, that is everything that I am reading. I will take you along with me throughout this week and I will keep you updated. Hi, so I'm just giving a super quick update. I finished A Sorceress Comes to Call, and I finished it last night at, I think, 1:30 or something. I'll put it on the screen. But I started very late. Unfortunately, I joked about starting at midnight and hoping that I was not going to start at midnight and that I was going to get to bed early. And I did not. I went to bed at midnight last night. I believe it was like 11:45 or so. I'll also put that on the screen. I took a screenshot of Libby when I started, and then I took a screenshot when I finished. And I believe it took me more than 2 hours and 10-15 minutes or whatever, which was estimated on my Kindle, but it was late and I was tired, and I did end up finishing super late, which I did not want to do. However, it was worth it because I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 5 stars. It definitely was 4.5 rounded up to 5. It was not a solid 5 stars for me. However, I think the ending was really good and I really liked it. And in the beginning, when I started reading this book, I saw that it was tagged as horror. And I was like, where is the horror? Like, how is this horrific in any way, shape, or form? Like, I just didn't understand. And then as the book progressed, especially the final 20% or so, it gets actually really horrific. And it's definitely very horror genre at the end of the book, but definitely not at the beginning of the book. I feel like the first portion of the book feels, I mean, it doesn't feel like it's young adult, but it feels like it could be young adult. Like, it's not, I don't know, it's not anything that's like super adult themed or whatever. It's not super horrific. It's not super explicit in any way or anything. It's just kind of chill. And then things really take a turn, and then it gets like kind of crazy, and like, I don't know, there's this animal, I don't want to give anything away, but it's like a demon, I guess, and it like turns into this crazy creature like with legs, and it's like a spider, and it's like just this crazy thing. And it's like things are decapitated, like people are murdered, and like in horrific ways and described in horrific ways. And so it really goes from like, I don't know, 5 to 100 at the end of the book. It's like a solid like 1 to 5 the entire time, and then it just goes off. And I personally really liked it. I read some of the negative reviews, and it seemed that a lot of people thought it was really slow, and then the end was just kind of like chaotic and they didn't like it. And I understand that. However, I don't think it was too slow. I do think it was slow. And there was a point where I was like, what even is the plot? Like, what is the point of this book? What's going to happen? What's the goal of the book? I didn't know. And I don't know, it just was very slow. And so I do understand that 100%, but I think that there's a lot of beauty in the slowness in T. Kingfisher's books. Like, it is kind of a slow plot line in a lot of her books, and it takes a while to get going. And then even once it's going, it's not like it's super bam, bam, bam. Like, I don't know, she's just more relaxed. She's more chill in her writing. But she takes a lot of time to really delve into the characters and their way of thinking and their interactions with each other. And I really like that because I feel like the characters just feel so authentic and so special to me. Like, they're just really unique characters and I enjoy them a lot. And so I feel like it was slow, but for a reason. And I feel like what I said, there's a lot of beauty in that slowness, and I really enjoyed it a lot. So if you're somebody who doesn't like slow books, I don't think that you would like it. And if you don't like horror, then you probably would not like the ending at all. And so then what's the point of really reading the whole book? But if you're okay with a little bit of horror, a little bit of grotesque shock at the end of the book, then I think this would be a really good book for you, as long as you don't mind that it is a kind of slower pace. It's definitely very character driven for the first part, and then it's a little bit more plot driven at the end. So yeah, I really liked it. I knew that I would. I love T. Kingfisher. I've never read a book from her that I did not enjoy. I've read some books that I wasn't super crazy about, like the Paladin series is not necessarily my favorite. I do really like the series, but I'm not crazy about it. And I wouldn't say I'm crazy about this book either, but I would say that it was really good. It was good enough for me to round up from 4.5 to 5. So I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. So yeah, Now I have to just focus on the other books, like Welcome to Nightvale, which I'm still chipping away at piece by piece, very slowly. I have, I think, 3 or 4 days maybe to finish reading that, or to finish listening to it, better said. I will say that I signed up for Kenley Davidson's newsletter, who is my favorite author of all time. I am so obsessed with her. I love her so much. And when you sign up for her newsletter, you get access to several free books and novellas and chapters from her. I think like maybe 5 or 6 total. One of them was a part of the Legends of Abrea series that I love so much. And despite me having literally so much else to read, that's important. That's going to be returned back to the library. It's not like I've purchased it or anything. I don't have permanent access to it. And I do have permanent access to these Kenley Davidson things. But despite all of that, I just don't want to do these other things. I just want to read the Kenley Davidson stuff. So I don't know. We're going to have to see how good I'm going to be about it, or how much Kenley Davidson I'm going to read instead. So quick update. Today is Thursday morning, and this morning I officially finished Welcome to Nightvale. It took forever to finish the last little bit, actually, like to the point where it felt like it was really dragging on. And also I didn't really like the ending that much. It just kind of felt like Nightvale is so mystical and special and weird and unique, and then the ending and like the big reveal of everything was kind of not weird enough. Like it was just a little bit too basic, actually, for what I was expecting for Welcome to Nightvale, which in a way was weird and unexpected, that you were expecting something that would be like crazy, and then it was just something that was pretty basic. But I don't know, it just wasn't like, it didn't blow me out of the water, the ending or anything. And I also feel like the very ending, like the final chapter, the entire final chapter was somebody flying and then like looking at the city of Nightvale, or the town, I guess. It's supposed to be small, but he like listed 50,000 different things. And it was just like, there in the distance, you spot blah, blah, blah. And then behind it, blah, blah, blah. And then behind it, blah, blah, blah. Then behind it, blah, blah, blah. And it went on like that for 15 minutes, okay? I had this on 2 times the speed to finish this, and I thought like, what if I missed something important? So I didn't want to like skip it, but like you can absolutely skip the entire last chapter. There's just like at the very, very, very end, like the final minute or 2 of the very last chapter gives you a little piece of nice information that would be nice not to skip. However, from the entire 18-minute chapter, 15 minutes is just, it's pointless. You don't need any of it. Like at the very beginning, and then the very end. So like 3 minutes total for that chapter. The rest of the 15 minutes are useless, pointless. Like it just was so annoying because it drove me so crazy. It was like, and then behind it, there's da-da-da, then behind it, then behind it, then behind it, then behind it, then there in the distance. Why did they write it like that? They could have done literally anything. They could have put like, you know, and then as he was flying, he turned to the east and saw this, and then he did this. Like they could have inserted anything in the middle, but they didn't. They just wrote, and then there was this, and then in the distance this, and then behind that, and then behind that, and then behind that. I don't know who made that decision, and I don't think that it was a good one. I think the book would have been better without it. I think there were a lot of decisions that were made that were kind of questionable like this, but for the most part, I kind of just chalked it up to, it's Nightvale, it's weird, it's supposed to be like that, whatever. But this last chapter really drove me crazy, and I really actively disliked it. I gave it 3.5 stars in reality, and then I rounded up to 5. I don't think that it would deserve rounding down to 3 for sure. I think it was really fun and weird, and I did enjoy listening to it, especially in October right before Halloween. I just think it was perfect. It was so fitting. But I feel like the podcast is better. And this is exactly like the podcast, as I've said before. It's just the podcast with a plot that continues through all episodes, but then they're chapters. That's truly the only difference. And I was listening to it as an audiobook because it's the same narrator as the one for the podcast. And so it just really felt fun and authentic, but it really was literally just a podcast. And I treated it like a podcast too, like how I would listen to the Welcome to Nightvale podcast. I feel like it was a really fun read though, regardless. I definitely think if you're reading it and not listening to it, it might be, I don't know, a little bit too weird. Oh, he's not supposed to be on the table. Anyways, I feel like the book might not be as nice if you're reading it. I definitely think if anybody wants to consume this novel, the best way to consume it is via audiobook with the narrator who does the podcast and everything, because he's just so expressive and it just makes it so much better, so much more fun, so much more intriguing, so much more funny. It's so much better when you listen to it as audiobook, I think. I did not read it, so I don't know, but I'm confident though that it would be a million times better on the audiobook versus reading it. So if you want to give it a go, definitely give the audiobook a go. It was available at my library and they even had 2 copies, so I'm sure it's available at most libraries. Anyways, that is my only update for now. I will see you later on in the week. Hi, so here I am to give you my final update for the week. I'm actually pretty pumped about what I was able to get finished. I did not do that much that I intended to do, and I did not do that much from my priorities. I've still not read any more of Lessons in Chemistry. I'm still stuck at 70%, and I can't remember how much time I have left, but I think now I've only got 7 days or so. I could be completely off. Honestly, I've not even opened Libby in a while because I've just been reading from my Kindle. As far as what's on my Kindle here, the thing I am most proud of, it was not a top priority this week. However, it's a general priority, as in kind of really priority number 1 for this entire year, and that's Harry Potter. And I was able to read a little bit, and I'm so happy. I'm now officially over 60%, which I don't know, it felt like that was never gonna happen. I was always hovering around 60% for the longest time, and I'm officially over that hurdle. So I am super pumped about that. That was honestly taking forever. And also I'd not read it in months, maybe 4 or 5 months. And I really kind of feel like my Spanish level for the past year, honestly, maybe even more, has just been stagnating. And I just feel like I'm on that intermediate plateau. If you're a language learner, then you know. But I just feel like I'm stuck on that intermediate plateau and I'm just not going up at all. And it's driving me crazy. And I will say I'm not putting in that much time and energy into studying Spanish. So it is my own fault. The source of my problems is indeed me. And I do know that. However, I was putting in a little bit of effort, and I'm in a Spanish class right now, and I was in a Spanish class 2 semesters ago. And I think, honestly, maybe, very lightly, I am starting to go up again from this intermediate plateau because it was easier when I read it this most recent time. I don't know if I was just in a better headspace, if I just was more well rested. I don't know. However, I do know that it was for sure easier than it was the last time that I read it because I did not have to look up too many words, and I feel like it was actually kind of fluent reading. Whereas before, last time I read it, and why I've not read it in so long, is because I was looking up 15 words per page or something, which for me, it's just too much. It was just signifying that I wasn't in the right headspace and or it was not the right level for me, which was really disappointing because again, I feel like I am an intermediate in Spanish at this intermediate plateau. And so I feel like I should understand Harry Potter. And I didn't feel like I had to look up that many words before, but I can't remember because I've been reading it for so long. And so that was just so upsetting when I was having to look up so many words. But then, like I said, this most recent time, I didn't have to do that much. So that was really exciting. And it definitely encouraged me. I think I'm going to start reading it more and then really try to finish it in November. I don't know, knock on wood, but it would be really nice because my goal was just to finish it before this year is over, which I know thinking like taking an entire year to read a book is like blasphemy and unheard of to BookTube, I'm sure. But I mean, it's what I had to do to get it finished. I knew if I told myself that I had to get it finished in like 3 months or whatever, I'd get overwhelmed and then I wouldn't do it at all. And so I thought a year, it would be like so easy. And I thought I'll be finished for sure, like at the halfway mark at the absolute latest. And I'm not, obviously. It's October and I'm only 60% of the way through. 60+% now. I am 65% to be specific, which basically they say, I learned in school, if it's 5 or more, you knock on the door, as in you round it up to the next number. So I'm gonna say I'm basically 70% finished with Harry Potter now. So it did take me a lot longer. As I said, it's the end of October and I'm only 70% of the way through, but you know, I'm getting there. So I don't really care. As long as I'm making progress, I don't really care if it's slow progress. And then the other book that I've read quite a bit of in the past day or two, which I didn't even mention in my last update, although I believe I had only just started it maybe the night before my last update. And that is Of Promises and Thorns by Kenley Davidson. And it's one of those books that I got for subscribing to her email newsletter. And I'm not liking it actually as much as I've liked her other books. I feel like with her other books, it was like love at first sentence. Like I just immediately knew that I was gonna love the book and I immediately knew that, I don't know, I vibed with it immediately, I guess. And this book, I'm not really so far. It's not that I dislike it at all. Like, definitely not. I do enjoy it. That is for sure. However, I just feel like Kenley Davidson was on a whole other level for me. Like, everybody else was here, and then Kenley Davidson was, like, here. And so I just feel like this book, I don't know, is not giving me that feeling. It just feels like an average fantasy book involving elves, which is not bad, but it's also not outstandingly amazing or anything like that. So I don't know, we'll see what my thoughts are as I continue reading through it. I am officially 27% of the way through with it. I do feel like at the 30% mark, you should usually have a pretty good feeling of if you're vibing with the book or not. And also the writing, I feel like by the 30% mark, you should know it pretty well. And I definitely feel like it's not how her other books normally are, but again, it's not bad at all. I do enjoy it, and I'm definitely going to finish reading it for sure. There's no question in my mind, and I'm probably going to end up rating it 4 stars. I think it will be determined if it's 4.5 rounded down or if it's 3.5 rounded up or if it's just 4, flat 4. But I don't see myself rating it 5 stars at this point in time. And I also don't see myself rating it just 3 stars at this point in time because it's not that bad. And also it's not that amazing. It's just 4 stars, like a really high good, a great, a low great, I don't know, to be determined, but it's definitely somewhere in that range instead of on the other side of things. So we'll see. I will update you in my next reading vlog how I'm liking it. It's a very, very, very quick read, so I will probably be finished in my next vlog. You can probably just hear my final thoughts on it right off the bat. So anyways, that is everything. I hope that you guys had an amazing reading week, and I hope that you have an amazing day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.